Hello and welcome to another episode of Moonshot Nutrition. My name's Addison, and today I want to talk to you about medical studies, percentages that are thrown around, all of these weird numbers we always hear about. Reduces our risk of cancer by 30%, blibbity blobbity blue. The reason I want to talk to you about how to pay attention and be wary of numbers you hear everywhere, from my channel to anybody else, is there are some numbers that are actually pretty reliable, come from good evidence that we can say, yeah, it's actually probably pretty close to that, whatever the true reality is. And there are other numbers completely, maybe not quite pulled out of a hat, but darn near it. Okay, and some numbers are completely pulled out of a hat. So please be aware that as you hear numbers being thrown around in the entire industry of health, some of these numbers are really suspect and some of them aren't. And here's how you figure out which ones they are, which is what this video is all about. Learning what numbers you need to be wary of, what numbers probably have some validity, and what numbers are actually fairly straightforward and are almost exactly what they sound like. So the first thing you should be wary of is any time somebody talks about risk factors. Well, this will increase your risk of blibbity blob. Oh, please, very quickly, start to ignore these entirely. Just, I'm telling you, ignore them. Focus on good health, and whatever it is that you are trying to avoid, whatever genetic predisposition you have to XYZ chronic health condition, cancer, Alzheimer's, whatever. I'm telling you, ignore the risk factor stuff and focus on good health, healthy diet, maybe some healthy supplements, excellent exercise, and just living a joy-filled life. I'm telling you, you're going to get to whatever really healthy place you need to be much faster, more efficient, more successfully, more effectively than you will if you start running around trying to avoid whatever the latest risk factors are, okay? They are always based on huge amounts of epidemiological data, which shows you correlation, not causation, and they're almost always poorly or only moderately controlled for all the other different factors that could have influenced why the numbers came out that way. And quite often, even when the researchers did a great job, there's still so many factors we don't even know about. The data that comes out of those studies are still highly suspect, even when it was done in the best way. So I'm telling you, when it comes to risk factors, generally speaking, ignore it. And again, focus on good health. That, if your health isn't good, that's a risk factor for everything. If your health is excellent, then odds are you're doing great. Another thing you should be wary about is whenever somebody talks about how this thing leads to better weight loss than that thing, or this thing leads to better. The only thing you should really be focused on when it comes to weight loss is which diets for weight loss tend to be the most successful over time. That's the only thing you should really be interested in. And then, of course, finding the one that actually works with what you're trying to do. Okay, so when somebody says, oh, so-and-so lost 30% more weight under this trial than they did over here, and blah, blah, blah. I'm not even saying those numbers are wrong, but I am telling you that to do any of those numbers, if it requires you to do something that's not sustainable, that doesn't work with your lifestyle, who cares? I'm telling you, ignore that stuff. Find the diets that work the best long-term, the most sustainable, and just follow those. It's going to give you a better outcome over time, I promise. The kind of numbers, interestingly enough, that you can usually put a little more faith in are the numbers that are based on things like how much of a given nutrient you absorb under XYZ conditions. Turns out that we can measure quite well, and we can measure it in a lot of people and get a really good snapshot of how that works in the body. So ascorbic acid, which is the scientific name for the most common form of vitamin C you'll find on the shelf, ascorbic acid absorbs at about 20%. that's actually a pretty reliable number. Sure, it can drift slightly up or down, depending on the population you give it to and a handful of other factors, but it's going to be in that general area. You're not going to meet somebody that is actually closer to 80%. Okay? So again, there are those numbers that when it's based on something that is pretty solid in the realm of science, that we can truly measure, easily measure in the short term, it tends to be a good number. And lastly, and this is one of the ones that are harder, be wary of who is giving you these numbers. If it's a show like Good Morning America, I'm telling you, just tune it out. Whatever they're telling you, they might be right, but these groups, when they talk about scientific studies, these are the folks that troll what is called the abstract of the scientific study. They don't check how valid the study is. They don't actually pull a proper scientist. They just don't do their homework. Okay? So be sure that whenever you're listening to anyone talk about a study, make certain it's the kind of person that does their homework. Make certain it's the kind of person that when you're done listening to them, your first thought is, you know, I think they actually read the full study. Isn't that nice? Okay, and then make certain it's the kind of person that talks about why it was or was not a good study. Okay, if they just say, well, this study said that. Huh? Why did they say that? How did they say that? Did they have good proof that they said that? Okay? Find the voices that are clearly reading this stuff objectively and will call out good versus bad studies, give you a reason why, and even help you, if you choose, to figure out how you too can read studies and see which ones are good, which ones are bad. Well, I hope this helps you a little bit in figuring out how to make sense of all the weird data that comes out of the health world. My name's Addison. This is Moonshot Nutrition. As always, thank you so much for watching. Please spread what you learned here to others and make the world a better place. Bye-bye.